And hello. Wait a minute. There's something wrong here. I'm missing somebody. But who's that does not look like Mike. Hi everybody. This is Darryl. Welcome to Off the Cuff Paranormal. Tonight, as you can see, Mike is not here. He had other things he needed to attend to. We are missing him at the present point in time, but we have our good friend who's mellowing and zoning out right there to this beautiful sound. Our good friend, Kay Thornton from Faculty X Investigations up in Kelowna, BC. Kay, welcome to the show, Mrs. N.
Good evening, Darryl.
Oh, you're
Key at 963 hertz. This is revered in the spiritual world with its healing properties. It is said to help to open the crown chakra, allowing us to access higher knowledge, deepen our spiritual connection, and invite divine wisdom into our lives. And it's also very irritating.
I think I could probably only sit in a room with that for so long, and I would be like...
I tried having a bath with it the other night, and I literally had to get out of the bubbles and just, yeah, I'm done.
Well, okay, it's wonderful having you on board, and thanks for stepping in for our good friend Mike, who's out and about right now. Mike, if you're out there and you happen to be paying attention, we miss you, my friend. I don't know what well, that's just above my head. I thought it was a dot on the screen, but it's a little vent. It's way up there.
It's an orb.
No orbs. A lot of our friends apparently are elsewhere, so I don't know how many people we're actually going to have watching this show tonight. I mean, I can tell you right now, I'm one of them.
I knew that.
Huh? Well, I am, because I'm actually viewing. I can actually go, hi, and then I see it pop up over here because I can go to chats and go, hi. But tonight, folks, me and Kay have had a few discussions recently. And a little thing about the paranormal, and it's something that I guess really you started it, Kay. I mean, I'm blaming her. It ended up coming across sound-wise, really. And when you think about the paranormal, I mean, people think about EVPs and they think about bangs and knocks and taps and thumps and dump dump 2 bits, all that kind of stuff. They're thinking of the usual sounds. But Kay, you stepped outside the box about that far on this one. I can't go far enough here on the screen on this one when it comes to sound. So I mean, give us an idea exactly where you went with all this.
Bear with me, I've got a visitor. So what got me thinking, I know, sorry, it's my child. What got me thinking about this was a past investigation that you guys did, which I had the privilege of joining remotely.
Yep.
And weird things were happening in this investigation.
That's true.
One of the things that was happening was trains kept going past. And it got me thinking about frequencies. And I'm not talking about the frequency of the train going past, which was about what, every half hour or so, something like that?
Well, it was a little more than that, but yeah, in the evening it started to get to be probably about every hour and a half to 2 hours. I think it actually came by. A couple times it was, fairly close. Yeah.
That's right. And it really it sort of got me thinking. And again, I was watching a paranormal show, and they were having the same thing happening with them. They, in this one particular episode, they had trains going past, and they got on to the point of, is there some sort of correlation between trains going past and activity?
That's true. But that stemmed from another show. And just before you get into that other show, because I don't know if you want to name it or not, I just want to let you know Ken and Holly both said hello.
Hello, Ken and Holly. 'Tis I.
That's what he said. He said, lovely to see you, Kay.
Oh, thank you. I'd say you too as well, but I can't see you. So yeah, I found it really interesting, and I actually spoke to the host of this TV show.
Are we allowed to say what it was?
Yes, it's called Haunted Discoveries, and the guy that I spoke to, it's just been on actually Friday nights. The guy I spoke to was Brandon Alvis, and he was very interested in what I was talking about, as I was interested in what they were talking about. They were using the EDI an awful lot, and they were looking at the correlation of the train going past with air pressure. They were measuring with the EDI. They were measuring the air pressure.
Yeah.
And I started to go down this other rabbit hole with the frequencies. What sort of hertz the train was creating as it was running on the track, the sound it was making as it was going past. And at that point, I believe I came to you and I said, have you thought of this?
And I can honestly say, not really in depth, but then we did discuss the whole concept of the train going by, because they said the EDI was going off, and they also said that there was a pressure change as well, right?
Yes.
And the pressure change, I mean, folks, just so you know, the pressure change can be contributed to the size of the train and the amount of air it's pushing in front of it, and the amount of air it's sucking in behind it. So when people say windows shake or doors rattle a little bit, it's not just because of the vibration, probably because of the amount of the air that's pushing, and thus the pressure changes both up and down as the train passes, which I thought was really cool anyway. But you don't really realize it unless you're standing next to the train. You can feel it. But that wasn't all, was it?
No, it wasn't.
They were talking and hitting on the frequency that was being created by both the train coming by, but also by the wheels, the tracks, and all of that stuff, and the whole combination of it. And I guess they were trying to say, were they saying that it actually helped the spirits communicate? Is that what they were trying to get across? Or
that's what they were looking at. They were really seeing this whole correlation as the train was going past. They were getting spikes in activity. And from what I remembered, because I mean, I was only on the cell phone with you guys. I had no idea what was actually going on, apart from you going, "Oh my God! Oh, did you see that? What was this?" Stuff was happening. But it really made me stop and think. Is there a correlation now between different frequencies that we listen to? I mean, we use the spirit box, right?
Yeah.
And we know that the spirit box is AM and FM, and I believe you put it in reverse. And the idea is that the spirits can come through and use the spirit box to communicate. But it's a frequency.
In a nutshell, yes. I mean, we use it on FM most of the time. We run it reverse, so you're not going to get any you're not supposed to get any full word within a very short time frame because you're scanning milliseconds between stations. So the theory is you're not supposed to get any words, but the spirit's supposed to be able to use the white noise that's generated in between all that to hopefully ride in on it and, I guess, verbalize themselves. That's the basic concept without going into all the details about it.
That's right.
So I guess go ahead.
You use the word there, the white noise, and that got me thinking. So I went online. Just go back before that, I was actually at work, and the couple that I was working for, they have a newborn baby, and in their baby's bedroom they have a little box.
Yep.
And this little box, I asked them, I said, what's that? And they said, oh, it's a white noise box, which immediately made me go ding, you know,
light bulb.
because I hate white noise. I detest it. I cannot. Ceiling fans and things like that, the bathroom fan, it's like, you know, nails on a chalkboard to me. I have to turn them off.
Well, let's okay. So before we get into the white noise, because we do have some samples, and I know you have some other stuff to discuss and reference other things. Let's go back to the simple one. That's the train. So, I mean, what we're talking about, folks, is just before we get into the white noise aspect of things, what we're talking about here is if you listen to a train, so it's got a very and I don't know if I can turn my sound up a little bit more, so next time I play it. Let me just try that again. Sorry, guys, I had the train down, but there it is. So as you can see, the train has a very specific ongoing rhythm to it. Now, you know, because we can actually say where we were actually at Yale. That's a historic town in BC, okay? And, you know, the theory is the train has been going past that town for how many years, Kay? You know,
Since 1800s, easy.
Yeah. So a very long time. And, you know, it not only probably acts as a trigger device, which is what I'm thinking, but if things are more likely to say something, can they write in on those sounds that the train has created? I mean, now for most investigators, you go, well, it's just a lot of noise out there, but we've caught it where there's been things to deal with the train going by and EVP at the same time. Is it writing in on those wavelengths, that pressure going by, the rhythmic, the vibrations that are being created, or the actual sound waves that are being created by it, and the various frequencies, right? So that was something that got us all into this whole thing and discussing back and forth and back and forth. And believe me, we've had some discussions. But then you brought up the whole concept of white noise. Now, to explain to everybody what white noise is, I mean, without saying, hey, it's the ghost box, I get the best explanation for white noise. You ever watch the movie Poltergeist?
They're here.
When she's in front of that TV, what is she listening to?
Static white noise.
Static white, you got it. Bingo, static white noise. I hear train. Mr. Mike, welcome in. Glad you're listening in, sir. Wherever you may be, I'm glad you're listening in. It was I know you didn't miss much. That's the basis of white noise. Now, you said that you can't stand white noise.
No.
Right? And I hate to tell you, but you know, I do have a sample of white noise. So I'm going to play that for you guys, and then you can go into a little bit about why you hate it, but also what the advantages or disadvantages might be in the paranormal field. Okay, so let's have a listen to it. Now, we got multiple color noises. This is just a white noise, folks. Have a listen. Okay. That's white noise. Ain't that just terrible? We've thought about white noise, and Kay, I know it really bothers you because white noise is tied to something very specific for a lot of people. Explain that a little bit, will you?
Are you talking about my problem?
I am. Not that, yeah, I mean, we don't want to talk about your problem. No, this problem is tied hand in hand with white noise, but it also tied hand in hand with the whole scheme of things. So let's just go with that.
I have tinnitus in my left ear.
Now, I don't know enough about tinnitus to say what it really is and what it's not. So
can
maybe
can I play it to you? Or do you have it there, or should I play it from my cell phone?
Which one? Oh, the sounds you got, or the actual meaning?
My tinnitus, what I hear.
Well, okay. Let's explain what tinnitus is first, if you can.
Is a lot of people get it. They hear it as a ringing noise in their ears. It might be a low frequency. It might be a little buzz. It's usually in the background of things. Mine started literally after I had COVID. I got vertigo, and along with the vertigo, in came this tinnitus. And it's not something that shuts off for me. It's constantly there. So there's only certain things that I can actually do to drown it out. It's something to do with the inner ear. I haven't gone deeply into it because, I'm just living with it day to day, constantly, even at night, depending which side I lie on. It's either louder or it's softer. So,
well, Mike, before you play that, Mike actually said, my kids all sleep with white noise machine. Guess we wouldn't be hanging around his kids too much. He also has tinnitus. So, okay. Now, but tinnitus comes in various frequencies and level and hertz, right? So you're up in that
7,500.
7,500 range.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So have a listen to this. If you don't like the high pitched sounds, plug your ears because it's just like she played it for me and I'm like, oh. Okay, so have a listen to it.
Just let me find it for you. Yeah, it's a lot of people just don't believe that this is what I listen to constantly. Bear with me. And you might need your sound up for it.
I'm plugging my ears.
Are we done?
Ow! Okay. Now that's the sound level she gets bugged by.
Yeah.
Everybody gets bugged by different hertz, different frequencies of tinnitus. There's about 5 or 6 that are really considered terrible for people suffering from tinnitus, right?
Yeah.
And that's incredible. I thought that was really, really kind of cool, but I thought it was like incredible that it was just weird. So that being said, there are other noises that you are okay with. Now, one of the concepts about the white noise and these different frequencies, these different levels, is that spirits, wherever they may be, can use them I would say some of them would be driven away by certain ones, some of them would be attracted by certain ones, correct? Mm-hmm. So we have a couple more samples for you guys we'd like to play. Now, I'm going to play 3 more samples of them, okay? One of them, and now you guys wouldn't believe this, there's gray noise, there's black noise, there's all kinds of different noises. I'm going to play you blue, then pink, then brown, just so you guys have an example of what these things sound like, okay? Here's blue. Okay, here's pink. And here's Brown. So you see what I mean by the various sounds? It's, you'd never know. I mean, I think you were saying before that any given spirit, your theory is any given spirit out there could be attracted to any level of these sounds out there, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, I think that's a really cool concept. But you mentioned something on when we were having a discussion a little bit earlier where we were testing all this stuff. You came up with a thought, and then I kind of followed it up with even a bizarre thought. Let's go back to that for a minute. So I guess the thought was originally, if spirits are attracted to these things, do they actually ride in on them? Are they actually manipulating them? How are they actually doing it? I don't think we really determined that because there's no way to really determine that. But you also said something about finding the very specific hertz of a spirit. Now, how did we figure out how to do that? It was your idea.
I love
how I blame it's your idea.
When we do our reviews, whichever audio you actually use, if you look on the screen, mine is on the left at the bottom, it talks about the hertz and what hertz our audio is at. And I brought this to you and I said, well, have you thought about this? That, there might be, the spirits might be using a level, a hertz.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to isolate an EVP to find out where that level is, what they're actually using? And you ran off to find your laptop and you pulled up whichever system that you use.
Yeah, I did.
And we sort of, you said, hey, I might be able to have this 2-second window to isolate to see what hertz an EVP comes in at.
Yeah. I would have to take the clip of just the voice and find out where that range of when the voice starts to when the voice ends, and where's the middle ground on the hertz level for it. Now, hertz is in HZ. Okay, hertz. Now, before I get into that, Mike said, "Ooh, stop that." That's when we were playing all that stuff. Thespians, this would probably be Holly. Your example of the train, could it not be a sort of audio pareidolia?
It could very well be, but that doesn't explain the activity that we were also getting. Because, and again, I wasn't there, I was on the end of a phone, but were you guys not having what were you using? You were using the Rook, you were using a K2, and you were having all sorts of issues with these.
Okay, so now the train wasn't going by at the time the one happened with the K2, but it had gone by. We were down in the one house there, the ward house, and we had my K2. Mike's was down on the floor. Mine was up on a unit that everything else is gone out of the house right now, but mine was up on a unit that was temporarily there. And we were getting hits on the K2 from what Kay was asking. And then my K2 went from green to red, like literally 4 times in a row, like green, red, 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 red. And I mean, even me and Mike, you can ask Mike, we were scratching our heads because that's just, I've never, ever seen that happen on the K2, not like that. And his didn't go off at all. And that was damn weird. And no electrical. So did the train going by recently help promote activity? Again, I don't know. But it was rather interesting. But then again, you were also talking about a lot of stuff that was really relevant to the place.
Yeah.
which also was rather unique. So we had multiple things, but it did bring to mind, does the train cause activity to be heightened? Right? Now, Mike said we had the K2 go off multiple times and there was no train. And that's true. We did, Mike. We did.
What I was going to say is going back to me talking to Brandon. They were finding exactly the same thing. And this is why I found it really interesting that we had MPI with the trains. We had Brandon doing their episode on TV. Now, just a couple of days ago, there was somebody else who was we were talking about this, and he mentioned, I have been doing investigations with trains and their frequencies. Is there a correlation? So that's 3 different teams, 3 different complete areas, and they're all going,
Yeah, that's what brought us to this whole conversation. Like, so Ken said, could not the train wheels on the metal track produce electrical charge? Well, that's true, Ken, but as Mike had said earlier in the messages, it didn't happen all the time. Like, there wasn't a train going by all the time. There was trains going by multiple times, and sometimes it was during when the train was going by, and other times it was not. But you've been to this location, Ken, at least I think you have. And that being said, that's quite a distance for it to be throwing an electrical charge. I'm not saying it couldn't, but if that was the case, why just my K2 and not Mike's?
Yeah, I'm going to put my light on a second because I want to read something out. Oh, there we go. That's better. I might have trouble with my ears, but sometimes my eyes aren't too good either. Now then, where did I find this?
Okay, so hang on before you read that. Mike said Mike B, which is our dear friend Mike Burns, once suggested that the sound of the wheels of the train could be used as a form of white noise and suggested the spirits to use the sound to communicate to us. So it has been put forth that way at that location. So that's pretty interesting if you think about it. It's pretty interesting.
It is.
So you were going to read.
I was. And the reason this sort of came to mind is before I came to Canada, the family and I, we used to go to watch the Formula One racing down at Silverstone. And what you would notice is you'd see the cars coming in the distance. You'd hear the roar, but as they got closer and closer, the noise was so intense. You were wearing headphones, you were wearing earplugs. Zoe actually slept all the way through the Formula One. Can you believe it? We paid $1,000. Anyway, covering up her ears. It was so intense. So I actually found out what this is called. It's actually called the Doppler shift or the Doppler effect. So I'm just going to read it because it's easier. It says, have you noticed that when an emergency vehicle with its siren blaring passes you, that the tone that you hear changes in pitch? This is an example of the Doppler shift, and it is an effect that is associated with any wave phenomena, such as sound waves or light. Consider a case where the fire truck is at rest in the fire station driveway, waiting for the firemen to board. And then it had an image of a little fire truck, and all around it, you had the siren was going up, and you had this regular circle going round and a little person. Okay. If the siren is on, a listener some distance away to the right will perceive the siren at the same frequency at which it is emitted. In fact, another stationary person on the left side of the truck would hear the same tone also at 400 hertz. Now consider how this situation changes when the truck is moving towards the stationary observer with a constant velocity, or in our case, a train. coming at you. The frequency of the fire engine siren as heard by a person on the fire truck has not changed. However, the waves in the direction of the truck's motion bunch up as the fire truck is catching up to its own sound waves. Exactly. The pressure variations, which are represented by the sine waves, impinge upon the eardrum of the stationary observer at an increased frequency. The stationary observer to the right, therefore, perceives a higher tone than the one actually emitted from the fire truck. So you have a train coming along and it rumbles, 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 but as it comes past, that frequency gets higher and higher.
Well, the frequency, I mean, just to clarify a little bit more, the frequency gets higher and higher because the noise that the train is putting out ahead of itself is actually being caught up with.
Yes.
Right? So it's compressing and then causing the person in front to experience that louder and louder and higher pitch and higher frequency and higher noise level than when it passes.
Yeah.
Right. And then everything starts to drop off. Then people behind it are going to hear the lower frequencies and the lower noise levels. It's rather unique. I think when I first read that and you gave it to me to read, and it actually goes with light as well. It's really interesting. When I first read it, I'm thinking, well, okay, so if a train's going by and it's pushing that higher pitch sound, could something just like white noise ride in on that at a certain pitch level, right? At a certain frequency that it's being created. And then as it goes by, of course, the frequencies drop off, you lose that, and you get less and less, possibly less and less interaction. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's theory. It's all theory. But it's a unique thought, and yet it's also a thought that's based on absolute fact, which is really kind of cool, right? So I think that, from my point of view, Kay, I think that it would be really interesting to try and find these, or do experiments with these different frequencies, different hertz levels, when you're looking at EVP. So the next time you go back to a place, maybe you can find something that has that range to it, whether it be blue noise, pink noise, white noise, gray noise, black noise, whatever the case may be, and actually use that instead of the ghost box, which is all over the place, really, to see if it can prompt even further stuff. Now, let me look. There's a couple people have said a few things. No, only Mike. And they say that paranormal isn't a science. Oh yes, it's a science, all right. It's definitely a science, Mike. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and I think that you said it would be really cool to try and set these things, but it's a lot more work to do. But if you want to get interactions, it's worth a try. And here's the tough part, folks, and it may lead nowhere. But if it doesn't lead anywhere, what have you done, Kay?
You've not proved anything, but you've not disproved it either.
No, but you've eliminated at least one possibility of something working this way.
Now, you mentioned something before, and I thought this was interesting.
I did.
When we go on an investigation, we split up into groups.
Yeah.
And each person, like you mentioned, you've got the men that have generally got the lower tones, the voice. Maybe the women that have got higher ones. I'm not saying that there aren't any men that have got very high voices. But we won't go into that, will we?
Oh, that would be hilarious to listen to on an EVP session, no?
So, but we've even said it. Oh, they seem to, something appears to enjoy interacting with you, Mike, or with you, Holly. You're getting the activity. Is it because of the frequency of that person's voice?
Exactly. So that's why when some people say, hey, this person seems to be getting all the responses, are they hitting, exactly as you said it, the right tone, the right frequency, the right vibration, all of it, to allow something to actually understand and hear you.
Yeah.
That's really kind of cool. I mean, there's so much to think about when it comes down to this. You just find to sit there going, I mean, like, it's like you scratch your head wondering, like, what the heck is going to happen next? There's so many plausible things, right?
Yeah.
That, you have to think about it. And I think I bought, you just hold your ground for just a second. I'll be right back. I'm running away. I'm coming back, so we're gonna leave you all by yourself there, okay? So I bought that, and so did Kay. Exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And it has what are the sounds on it, Kay? I can't remember. It has.
Well, it's got the one I had. It's got white noise. It's got Zen noises.
Yeah.
Oh, where's the little
Forest, summer, crickets, frogs, birds, ocean sounds, rain sounds, thunder sounds, flute sounds, wind chimes, hair dryer, crowd, train, fireplace, and vacuum.
Yeah, brown noise 1, brown noise 2, pink noise 1, pink noise 2, white noise, ocean 1 and 2, rain 1 and 2, thunder. I mean, you can you can download these on your cell phone.
Yeah,
they're all there.
And the fun thing is about this is it's not as, if you use some of them, it's not as annoying as the ghost box, because it's none of that. It's not. It's like right across the board, unless you're doing with the train or whatever, or the thunder, and the rain is kind of cool too, because it's got a consistency to it. So again, our thoughts with all this was to try this during an EVP session to see if we could get any further responses, maybe hook into something that works well at one place and not necessarily at the other, right? There's all kinds of stuff. So Mike, what did he say here? It would be worthwhile to zoom in on the audio file to see exactly what hertz we are hearing. EVPs at as most are in the audio flat line. Well, that's true. They are in a lot. Well, yes and no. There are a lot in the flat line, but we get a lot of EVPs, and I think, I mean, over the years, even Holly and Ken can confirm on this. We've got a lot of stuff that's mixed in with us, mixed in with other odd sounds, and it's not pareidolia. We've already looked at that one. Yeah, no, that's a voice. So I think it's both sides of the board, Mike. I just don't know. We don't really know why, right? That's a cool thing. But I also downloaded or uploaded a bunch of little sounds that I thought would be kind of fun to go through. Just to say that there's other ways of maybe getting the attention of somebody and whether they interact. And it's not necessarily all frequencies, some of it could be, but it's also possibly memory and just general sounds, right, Kay?
Mm-hmm.
So one I wanted to play, and I mean, this can work as a sound thing, but also in the memory aspect for people and stuff like that. So have a listen and you tell me what you think. Kids playing. So and I thought that was rather unique to get, because I mean, again, all the kids, they're younger, right? They have a lot of varying voices, but it's relatively down within a small range, a small hertz range, a small vibration, a small hertz range as far as the variances are going to go. You're going to get variances, but it's going to be probably, I think it's at the higher one with the little kids, isn't it? It's at the higher range because of the voices.
Yeah, and that's interesting to say as well, because they talk about animals and the frequency that they're coming at, what they can hear. And quite a lot of them say wolves and dogs, that the predator type,
Mm-hmm.
they animals that emit a high-pitched frequency themselves are usually animals that are in distress.
True.
So predators can hear these high-pitched frequencies from a long distance and home in on prey, something that's, hurt and it's crying or whatever. And so children, they say that a lot of the predators, when there's children playing, you might get the cougars, the four-legged cougars around the playgrounds, and
not the old cougars walking around.
not the old cougars
not those ones.
Coyotes, they home in on children.
So it's not a good idea to have one of these.
No, you don't want one of them.
You don't want one of them. But again, the kid crying is, again, it's in that frequency realm of being almost like a trigger, right? Like it's something that maybe somebody, like as adults, it's almost like, especially for mothers, I would think more than fathers. I could be wrong on that, but they pick up on that almost instantly. Doesn't matter where it is. I mean, people go, "Oh, they're crying again," and the guys are like, "What?
What?
They what?" And they know. They just know. So I'm again, is it just a trigger, or is it something even more than that? That frequency, that vibration, it's just there. It triggers. I think it's a great way to possibly get an interaction. Now, hold on a second. Mike said the sound of a restaurant or busy coffee shop comes to mind. It's a consistent sort of audio as well. Holly said, cougars often sound like crying human baby. They actually chirp, Holly. You're right. They can sound like that, and they actually chirp as well. They actually sound like a bird in distress. Mm-hmm. It's really rather interesting. Now I have one in particular, Kay, that you didn't hear last time we tested this. This is a very particular sound. It's up in that higher range, but I don't know if it'll bug your tinnitus or not. But I think, and this has been used, and I guarantee it, you're going to tell me where. A music box. Now that's been used. I know it's been used on multiple paranormal investigations on TV. Successfully or not?
They've had I watch a lot of the shows. From the ones that I've seen, that yes, they do get the activity with the music box.
Now, do you think this is the music itself again? Or
I think it's the tone. I think it could be the frequency that it's coming in at, because it's very high.
Yeah. So a trigger device may be hitting on both aspects of it, but you think it's that. And I don't know. It would be interesting to really find out what hertz it comes in at, and actually see if it matches up with one of these color noises that we've had, or can get, and say, hey, well, this is what a music box runs around. We should try it and see, so it's not as hard to hear any UP. If that's the case, that'd be really interesting. What was this now? Mike, could be the music, but a music box hits different tones and hertz. It does hit different tones and hertz, Mike, but it's all within a very certain range. It's not like from here to here, but you know what I mean? Like it's like from here to here. It's in that one range. And if you can find a range or a middle ground with that, I think we discussed that, Kay, you find a middle ground, maybe something might react to it. Yeah. Sorry, I got more hand movements going there. Now let's see here. Hang on a second. I'm going to go back. We got that. Now, you were mentioning animals, mm-hmm. Right? Well, oops.
Giddy up.
Giddy up, a horse. Now it has that consistency, but I don't know whether that would be a really low frequency, wouldn't
I
it?
would say that would be what you'd class as a brown frequency, something that's low in the tones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like rain, the thunder. It's those low.
Yeah, but not like this one. That's
Anyone joining in, we're going to wonder what we're doing.
I love the sheep. I'm sorry, guys. I just love the sheep. Anyway, but that one I put in for the laugh. But anyway, but again, that is a definite tone that could relate if you're doing an investigation at a farm or something like that. You got the horse, you got that. You could download multiple farm animals just as a trigger, plus the fact that they all do have their various different frequencies. Now, I'm just waiting to see if anybody said anything, and nobody has yet. So there's been no comment on the sheep. Of course, I'm waiting for Mike to make a comment on the sheep. He's going, God.
Yeah.
Now we have this one, which is really significant because it puts out a frequency. It puts out a definite sound that's recognizable, and something that people are very adamant about. You know this as well as I do. I mean, let me ask you, Kay. You can be sitting in your house, your dog can bark out back, nobody else will hear it. You go, the dog's barking, won't you?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. See, because you toned into it. I'm almost wondering if, with these kind of things and with these kind of frequencies and tones with animals or things that are second nature to, to a spirit or somebody that's passed on or whatever, are they still tuned into that sound, that frequency? So when somebody plays animal sounds, of course, they connect with it. They hear it, they connect with it.
I think they would do. I mean, you're going to be drawn to something that affected you in life.
Mm-hmm.
I think, if you hear those things, like you say with a woman with a crying baby, she's automatically, because she's got that instinct within her, that nurturing.
Yeah.
So you hear a crying baby, a woman would automatically be drawn to it. With a guy, may not being sexist, but crank an engine over or something like that.
True. Mike said it sounded like his chihuahua.
Yeah, definitely not our dogs. I was definitely deeper than that.
Yeah, your dogs are definitely deeper than that. Now I got another one here. Oops. Oh, hang on. Where am I? Now this one is something that involves something that not only creates a frequency, it creates a vibration. It can create a memory for those that are involved with it. And it's a conduit. Any guesses?
Go on.
Oh, no, that one.
I need to pee.
Running water. We've honestly, I mean, MPI has had some interesting things near, places that are near rivers, running water and stuff like that. Water is known to be a conduit.
Yeah.
I mean, at least it's known to be a conduit. It is known to be an electrical conduit. If you drop a wire in there, you're signing the water. You're toast. It has that definite sound to it. It's within, like, depending on the size of the river, but a bubbling brook is always going to be within a certain range of sound.
Compared to the Fraser going by Hell's Gate.
Well, that's true. But even the Fraser, at certain points, you could probably go down there and record almost a flat line, almost, if you didn't hear any cars or anything else. Depends on where you are on the Fraser, right? So that is true too. So it's a really unique aspect. And I think, bubbling water would be an interesting one to try somewhere that has that, to see if we could get a response from them, because I think it's a great kind of thing that could allow somebody not only memory triggered, but to go, oh, that sounds really familiar. Maybe they can talk by using that frequency that it's putting
bring
out.
them into it.
Yeah. Now I do believe. Let's see. What do I have here next? I got this one.
I only know this one because you told me.
Basically, it's wind. It's a storm. Okay, it's a storm outside, folks. Now, we've all talked about how maybe on stormy nights activity picks up. Now, hang on a second. Mike said nothing. He just put a picture of a toilet. Oh, go figure.
Do pickles have frequency?
But I honestly think that the concept of the storm also brings back a couple things. There's energy that it creates. That's a given. And it creates its own vibration, its own sound, its own hertz, literally. Now, it could vary depending on where you are, according to the wind and all the rest of the stuff. But does that, with all the aspects of it, and if you get activity, what's pulling that activity in? What part of it? Is it one part? Is it the hertz? Is it something else? So that's, again, brings us back to, should we work more along the hertz line of things to try and find out more about where they lie when we're doing EVP, right? Now, we do have, I think I played the train. Another one which definitely has, depends how big they are. I'm just going to say that. Depends how big they are. They definitely have their very particular sounds, their very particular vibration, and definitely a hertz, depending on how big they are and what I mean. Bells. Now, I don't think I would personally suggest a bell to try and get something to use the frequency, because it's too abrupt.
But you could use one of the singing bowls, the Tibetan singing bowls. You know when you have your glass with water in and you go.
It's pretty good.
The Tibetan singing bowls are the same thing. You get that frequency.
Yeah.
And you can get them in all different frequencies.
That's true, but I don't know if I'd want to walk around with a big Tibetan singing bowl, but I get your point. I mean, it's just like the small ones. Yeah. But yeah, definitely an option.
Yeah.
Now, there's something else I wanted to bring up, and this is more a memory trigger, but it does have a particular sound to it. Again, just a thought. Drums. Yeah. Drum beats. If something is going to be maybe military or something like that, it may bring up a memory. It may bring up a certain sound to them. They might respond while that sound's being played or to the playing of that sound. Again, possibly. Or another one, and this is the kind of the last one I got, folks. This one, and now the reason I'm playing this one is we did an investigation at a place that was tied to the military. Now, I'm not allowed to say where. I can just say it was tied to the military. We actually did a couple of them. But this one was rather unique because we actually heard the first part of this. We didn't hear the second part of it. We actually heard the first part of it, which was really kind of cool. So, is it possibly that this would trigger something? Yes. Have a listen. Okay, so not so much the shot, but the bolt. Click, 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 click. We were actually at a place, and we actually heard that. in an area that used to be a rifle range. Pretty cool, eh? So could it pan out? Could it play out like that? Could these frequencies have definite impacts on the spiritual realm? What do you think, eh?
I think it could. I think it'd be worth experimenting definitely with it. Can I read out one thing?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then I'll read out what Mike wrote. Maybe I won't.
Okay. This is called the fear frequency. It says, have you ever wondered what a ghost sounds like? Engineer Vic Tandy may already know. In the early 1980s, Tandy was working in a laboratory designing medical equipment. Word began to spread among the staff that the labs might be haunted, something Tandy put down to the constant wheeze of life support machines operating in the building. One evening, he was working on his own lab when he began to feel distinctly uncomfortable, breaking into a cold sweat as the hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. He was convinced that he was being watched. Then, out of the corner of his eye, Tandy noticed an ominous grey shape drifting slowly into view. But when he turned round to face it, it was gone. Terrified, he went straight home. The next day, Tandy, a keen fencer, noticed that a foil blade clamped in a vise was vibrating up and down very fast. He found that the vibrations were caused by a standing sound wave that was bouncing between the end walls of the laboratory and reached a peak of intensity in the center of the room. He calculated that the frequency of the standing wave was about 19 hertz cycles per second, and soon discovered that it was produced by a newly installed extractor fan. When the fan was turned off, the sound wave disappeared. The key here is frequency. 19 hertz is in the range known as infrasound, below the range of human hearing, which begins at 20 hertz. Tandy learned that low frequencies in this region can affect humans and animals in several ways, causing discomfort, dizziness, blurred vision by vibrations of the eyeballs, hyperventilation, and fear, possibly leading to panic attacks. A more recent investigation took place in an allegedly haunted 14th century pub cellar in Coventry, where people have reported terrified experiences for many years, including seeing a spectral grey lady. Here, Tandy also uncovered a 19 hertz standing wave, adding further evidential weight to his theory. In an interesting parallel, researchers have recorded that, prior to an attack, a tiger's roar contains frequencies of about 18 hertz, which might disorientate and paralyze their intended victim. Is this the sound of fear itself?
And folks, on that note, we're going to let you think about that for a while. Now, Mike wrote, not sure if you have the sound, but the sound of being on an airplane, the constant roar of the jet engines. And then he said, so apparently 19 hertz is the key here. And yes, Mike, 19 hertz seemed to be the key. So on that note, folks, and something for you all to consider, is there's more to this whole hertz thing than meets the eye? I think so. So, folks, we're at the end of our show. Believe it or not, the hour has passed. So 2 weeks from now, you'll see me and Mike back here, I hope, for another episode of Off the Cuff, and who knows what rabbit hole we're going to go down. But until then, Kay, thank you so much for joining me and being a part of tonight. It's awesome to have you on, as always. And you know what? We'll have you back again soon. Until then, from myself, Darryl, and
Kay from Faculty X, namaste.
We'd like to thank you for joining us off the cuff. We'll see y'all later. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Night, guys.
Bye-bye.